Ladies and gentlemen, big terror news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewy.
Kia ora, Pat. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How you doing? Box of birds?
I'm freezing to death slowly.
Took the youngest to school.
It is cold.
Took the youngest to school today. Dropped off just before 9 o'clock. 0.5 degrees. I took a photo of it. Actually, I should have brought it up. And then picked up the youngest again from in town tonight as we were driving home. 3 degrees. Mm-hmm. So she's a chilly one. She's not. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt, so I'm not going to complain too much. But yep. It's funny we're on the upside now, back to summer, because we're past the shortest day. But I think we have a period here in the south where it gets really cold for the next month or so. And
my car was frozen solid this morning. I fell on my ass crossing the road.
I love it. I love this. This is the best. Today was the best day. 0.5 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you look up and there's not a single cloud. And I'm like, these are the days that I talk about. Favorite day in Dunedin is middle of winter, not a cloud in the sky. And the reason there's not a cloud in the sky drops the temperature significantly. It's cool, man. I'm down. I have a quick story to tell you about something happened to me today. It was quite interesting. Some people know about, we've talked about the show and what we're doing with the show and how we're going to grow the show. You know, there's been a few people out there who have said to me, oh, would you ever take some investment? Would you look at it? And I'm like, well, always open to a conversation. And I got a phone call from a 0044 number, which, as you guys will probably know, if you don't, that's the UK today. In fact, my phone said it was in Dundee, Scotland, nonetheless. And I answered it, and there was a thick American accent on there talking about the NASDAQ and a company about to list and all these buzzwords. And I was really confused because they said that our name came across their desk, and and this company's about to launch, but it needs to have some equity and it's looking for some divergence and divulgence and investment, and all these buzzwords. And I had to stop him 2-3 times and go, look, just tell me what you're talking about. And he said it again. Lots of buzzwords. And I'm like, but this could be a genuine kind of money person from America. Lots of buzzwords. Hello, Mr. Luxon. And I said, so what do you think we do? And he went, oh, marketing and communications. And I'm like, well, sort of. So I'm still a bit confused. Can you give me just one sentence as to what you're offering me, you're phoning me? And they went, buying and selling. And I went, buying and selling what? And they went, click. They hadn't thought past that. Buying and selling what? They didn't have an answer for that one, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
But it was real interesting. I don't know what they were going to ask, or because I don't imagine anyone would give over a check or a bank number or a crypto, open their wallets for them if they're not going to tell them what are you buying and what am I buying. He didn't have an answer for that, and that was when the click happened right there. It was quite funny actually. And then I went, wasted 7 minutes of my life, but it gave me a story for tonight. Speaking of tonight, guys, we are going to talk about there was 150, there may be more now, of writers in New Zealand, their open letter to the government for an immediate Gaza ceasefire. That conversation is coming up very shortly with Paul Maunder. Also, going to be having a chat about Chloe versus Seymour. It was interesting. They were talking about the price of butter, but as Chloe is one to do, went straight back to the wealthy inheriting the earth. And she did something really interesting. And I know she said this before, and we've kind of said this, but a penny dropped. Because what she basically said was resources are finite. She didn't use those words. I'll play it for you. But she said resources are finite. Therefore, if the top 20% are overrepresented in those resources, by definition, that means some at the other end completely miss out. And I was like, Because, of course, Seymour doesn't agree with that. He thinks, how do you get rich by taking away from other rich people? But the way that she said it today, it's just kind of this penny dropped. And I went, if we agree that resources are limited, housing, let's say, something, whatever, cans of Coke, and 20% of people control or own 95% of that resource, then the other 5% is split up between the other 80%. And I was just like, that's a really clear example that we can now use. And as I said, she didn't actually say it quite like that, like as bluntly, but that's what I got out of it. So we'll play that conversation. Also, I wonder again, Chewy, if butter prices will be the downfall of this government. Like, I literally wonder if, right, between now and the next election, the opposition will be going like, well, that gives us a whole 1.5 blocks of butter. Like, it'll always come back to that. Had a chat with Craig today, Craig Rennie, about, recorded his podcast for tomorrow. And I was like, we want to try and find out. What I want to know is what is the cost to produce a block of butter? And Craig got out his CTU nerd file computer, and he looked up the selling price in US dollars, and it actually turned out to be a wholesale price of about $10 a kilo, wholesale. That means it's a wholesale. That's translated into New Zealand dollars. At the moment, it's about a wholesale price of $5 a block. Now, that's a wholesale price. So that's supplier plus profit equals wholesale price. Probably means it's between $2 and $3 to produce. And we're paying 11 at some places. So, let me just put it this way. If you're losing Mike Hoskings on the butter conversation, there's trouble. So we'll have a look at that as well. And also, Chewy, you might be interested to know that those 8chan conversations that were going on with Mehdi Hassan the other day on Jubilee, some of those behind internet personas where you can say things on 8chan and 4chan quite openly, can turn into real world consequences and jobs being lost.
Oh, no. Has somebody experienced a little bit of fallout?
Yeah. And Mehdi has spoken out now. He was on the Bulwark with Tim Miller today. He's spoken out about what the experience was. And it was really interesting. He wouldn't say, he said, I can't say some of the other stuff that happened. So obviously Jubilee really lock them down. They lock down their guests for you're not allowed to, legally.
I'm looking forward to that chat because I've seen a bit of back and forth about the format.
Yeah. Yes. No.
I've been
I
trying
agree.
to form my thoughts around it because it's an interesting one. I'm looking forward to that chat.
It's the conversation of who do we platform versus who do we want to expose and where is that line, and that does actually lead into a conversation around Roger Douglas as well. Who do we platform and who do we want to expose? Because on the working group last night, I've been speaking with one of the people who was on the working group, who is basically saying Roger Douglas should be left in the 1980s because that's where his views and opinions belong as well. And I'll show you a very funny trick tonight, how you can make Roger Douglas sound erudite and lively with a click of one button. I'll show you how that works.
I know what it is.
No, I did it by accident. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing now. All of a sudden you sound like the smartest man in the world. All right, let's get into our first conversation. Now, Paul Maunder is joining us. Paul Maunder, I believe, is the organiser of the Blackball Readers and Writers Festival. And Mandy Hager, who contacted me, said that potentially at the last Blackball Readers and Writers Festival, this idea came for an open letter to the government from writers to call to an immediate ceasefire, to what's happening in Gaza. Paul Maunder joins us right now from the West Coast. Kia ora and good evening, Paul.
Kia ora, Pat, and kia ora. Yeah.
Good evening.
Now, am I correct with that? This idea that Mandy's told us about, the open letter, was kind of birthed out of the Blackball Readers and Writers Festival?
Yeah, well, this year we had as a theme the role of the writer in this time of crisis. The crisis, all sorts of crises, but probably referring to, if you like, the breakdown of the global order, which has been happening. And so we had a session where writers all had done some short pieces on that topic, and in terms of what the role of the writer is. And out of that came, I'd read that the British writers had sent an open letter and the French writers had. So we thought that it would be very good to give the opportunity for New Zealand writers to voice their concerns and their their stance on the particular issue of what was happening in Gaza.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's have a look.
Mandy was a very logical person.
Let's have a look at this is Mandy's website, but she's also got the letter on there. Aotearoa writers demand immediate Gaza ceasefire. We, the undersigned writers of Aotearoa, New Zealand, ask our government and the peoples of the world to join us in ending our collective silence and inaction in the face of horror. 18 months ago, the Palestinian poet Hibi Abu Nada was killed by Israeli airstrikes. In her poem, A Star Said Yesterday, she imagined for the people of Gaza cosmic refuge, something utterly unlike the constant lethal danger they now face, from the poem. And if one day, O light, all the galaxies of the entire universe had no more room for us, you would say, enter my heart, there you would finally be safe. The letter goes on to the undersigned as well: Dame Fiona Kidman, Dr. Patricia Grace, Harriet Allen, Marilyn Duckworth, Fleur Beale, Dr. Pip Adam, and so on and so on and so on. I believe when this was first released, there was 150 signatories. Is that still where we're at today?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there are probably more now because as the word spreads, writers want to put their name to it.
Yeah. So this was delivered or sent to Christopher Luxon, the Prime Minister. Has there been any response?
Yeah, and Winston Peters, of course, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yep. Has there been any response from within government?
Yeah. I wouldn't think so as yet. I mean, it's early days. Nope.
Yeah. What about within society? What's the response?
So I mean, well, I'm not sure. It's comments are on. People can make comments on Mandy's website. I think this will be a bit of osmosis going here. I mean, for the first time, in some ways, New Zealand writers have collectively made a statement about something. I was disappointed during the 1990s, the whole neoliberal saga, that writers really didn't voice an opinion during that time. So I think that's probably, we're slowly assuming a greater social role, put it that way, in these particular times of endless crisis, really.
In an ideal world, Paul,
what
comes
Mandy,
from this open letter?
Why writers? Well, I mean, what comes is there is, I suppose, slowly build some sort of national opinion that the government has to respond to more vigorously than they're doing at the moment. I mean, they're hedging their bets, have all along. Why weren't we supporting the South African case at the International Court of Justice? Why aren't we part of the Hague group that's recently met? And, finally countries doing something more coherent and as a response. It'd be really good if New Zealand were there. Would have been really good if we were support South Africans in their case. So, just fronting up basically rather than just sort of mouthing some platitudes every now and then, which is what we've been doing.
It sounds like what this may be is another layer.
So, how you build that.
Another layer on top of another layer of all sorts of conversations that have been going on. Chewy, do you want to jump in?
Absolutely.
I think you raise an
absolutely.
Point
how is a sort of really built?
I think you raise an interesting point of just how to build a national movement, a feeling of conscience, and it has to come from so many sectors of society, and the arts has always been one that has stood up in the face of justice. And I think it's one of the only things in this country that has always been on the right side of history. So I think it's an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, you need the unions, you need the health workers, you need the teachers, you need all those people in society saying, enough is enough. And as a nation, as a country, we have to be on the right side of things. And I mean, we're a long way away, obviously, and small, but nevertheless, I mean, you look at Ireland, Ireland's had a very strong voice on this whole issue. And they're a pretty small country, but they've been out there, telling the truth, basically. It's about people telling the truth, isn't it? And writers should be telling the truth, it's for sure. And being brave, and obviously writers are there to penetrate bullshit and know when they hear bullshit and so on, so that's a task that we have, really. And so, I mean, everything counts, I think, in this whole business. Same with the sort of, if you look at past campaigns, the nuclear-free Pacific and no nuclear ships here, and all those successful campaigns are just voices being added until eventually, politically, that's what has to happen. Put it that way.
Paul, the letters now.
I mean, we don't
and
expect
people
wonders from this government, really.
are able to read it and see it. What do you want to see, just as we wrap this conversation, one last thing, what do you want to see the public do from here? Like, what do you writers need help with to get your message through?
Well, people just to circulate it, to read it, to put it on their social media and so on, just so that it starts to sort of be registered. That's always the thing. How do you register these things in a world full of information, really, eh? So, yeah. But I mean, initially you write the book, and then it starts to circulate, permeate, whatever. Yeah.
Well, listen, Paul, it's been fantastic you coming and joining us for a few minutes tonight. We really appreciate your time. I guess people can go straight to Mandy's website, which is mandyhager.com. But also, if you just Google, which I just did as well, Aotearoa writers demand immediate Gaza ceasefire, there's other places to find it as well if people want to get a hold of it and actually share it around. So thank you for speaking up. Yeah. Paul, thank you for being a part of this letter, and we wish you all the best with your ongoing activities and actions, especially in the area of ceasefires in Gaza.
Cheers. Kia ora. Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks.
Apologies for some over talking there. That was sort of my end, because there was a delay that kind of kicked in a little bit. So I know that parts of that would have been a bit of talky over, but that was a technical issue that we just had to address immediately. So thank you. Amazing. And I only read a part of it, guys. So you should all definitely go to mandyhager.com and check out the whole letter in and of itself. And also Mandy's written a preamble and an explanation of the thing as well. It's interesting, HOE, because I will never forget I think it was the first time we ever had Chloe on the show, and her conversation was always, what can we do next? And it's like, organise. Remember, it's like organise, just organise, community organise. And this feels like that. Like I said, it feels like, I think we all know delivering, Luxon a letter is not going to do very much tangible stuff, but it's another layer. And it's another layer, and it's another layer. And at some stage, the layers might be too big. They may have to address them, because if they don't, they're going to break the back of the whatever it is that's carrying all those layers. So it's awesome.
Do you know what strikes me about this? Something like this, something that's come very organically out of a writers' festival, and a feeling of writers and artists that they're a segment of society that needs to stand up and be counted. Is the authenticity, right? This is very clearly an honest feeling in that group, and they've decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the other side of that.
Okay.
So, a wee while ago, a few weeks back, the Dunedin City Council decided to have a vote about condemning what's going on in Gaza and doing their best to avoid anything to do with the Israeli regime at the moment. And it was a close vote, but it's something that a lot of people in Dunedin feel very closely. We've got a lot of Palestinian and Middle Eastern refugees in this town, and
still every Saturday, as far as we know. There's since day one, I think every Saturday. I mean, like, let's be fair. Maybe on Christmas, maybe there wasn't. I don't know, but as far as we understand, still every Saturday, 1 o'clock in the Octagon, there are protests going on. So yeah.
And again, that is a local, authentic movement. So here's the counter argument. Dunedin's mayor and councillors have been flooded with thousands of emails after declaring their support for the Green Party's proposal to sanction Israeli politicians. Each elected member of the Dunedin City Council has received more than 2,000 emails in what they have described as an orchestrated backlash to their support of the unlawful occupation of Palestine sanctions bill.
So hang on. So this is. I'm just wanting to be clear because it sounds like it's the reverse of what our council would normally do. They're saying yes, we're supporting the Palestinians, the DCC.
Correct. It was a knife. It was a knife edge vote.
Yep.
Your usual offenders were just like, well, what have we got to do with it? And the other half of the council was like, we should call this out because we can. This is something we can do. But because of that feeling of the fact that it was quite a close vote, or because it's been in the news cycle a little bit, there's been an orchestrated email campaign against the councillors that voted for it. But it's the details about these emails. The broad, impersonal emails seen by Radio New Zealand criticise anti-Israel resolutions that unjustly vilify Israel and ask the recipients to not call for a financial and military aid boycott of Israel. They began flooding in from about 1:30 a.m., each of them with a slightly different subject line. So this is an orchestrated, coordinated campaign from outside of our time zone.
Right.
So it's not authentic.
Yeah, because of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody's farmed something out to a website or paid a bot farm or whatever to come up with a campaign that tries to show a broad amount of support for Israel, but it's not authentic. It's constructed and it's incredibly see-through. So I think when you're talking about a movement or contacting your councillor or contacting your MP, this is the difference. Yes, they might get bombarded with emails, but authenticity always stands out. Form letters fade into the background. A bot-farmed email campaign is so easy to spot. And something from outside of New Zealand is noticeable because other people don't talk like us. They don't use the language that we use.
Yeah.
It's not authentic.
It is interesting though, because like we've been very clear that if in the Regulatory Standards Bill one line is enough to be a valid, submission. So if done well, bot farms do actually, they're a problem. And like if those had been sent at 9 a.m. rather than 1:30, I wonder if people would have thought, even they might have thought it's orchestrated, but it's from within New Zealand. Does that make it more valid? This is the difficulty to figure out with the submission process and how to receive submissions, I guess.
And even a question of scale, like Dunedin's not a big city, and there's always going to be, like, as far as a percentage of your population that's going to get up and do something, like email a councillor. It scales with the city, right? So even if it's a hot button issue, how many people are actually going to go that far? And in my imagination, for Dunedin City Councillors to get over 2,000 emails about a single topic, no matter what the time zone, it stands out as like, well, this is fucking weird.
Yeah, you say how many people would do it according to that report. Apparently 2,284 people is what they want us to believe would do it. So just to be precise. And all of them. And that's the other way. If it goes to all of the same emails go to all of the councillors or something. Yeah. Yeah,
So
no,
obvious.
that makes pretty poor reading. Ryzen says, I saw this today. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne doing his farewell show and then dying a few weeks later is honestly the most metal shit ever. Because that's right. They did the last show in Birmingham, died 2 weeks later. About a week later, there was all these articles, so halfway between the show and him dying, saying Ozzy Osbourne attended his funeral. The last show was his funeral. That's how it was being reported. And then a week later he dies. You're like, holy mackerel. There's something in that. And Kiwi Bird says, don't be blue. Everything will be all right.
That's a bit cheesy.
I can't think of a pun. Moving on. Okay, so let's move on. I'm just trying to think how we do this, because let's do butter prices, because this is, like I said, often there's an issue that you point to consistently to show the feeling of a nation. And butter prices, as it doesn't sound sexy or particularly, and every time you think about Christopher Luxon, don't you think sexy? That's the first word that comes to mind for me. But it might end, if this conversation keeps on going on, it might end up being, I am being a little bit, I'm exaggerating a little bit, saying it may be the downfall, but it may be a layer to the narrative of what this government's all about. So basically, Nikki Noboats had her big meetup last night, her IRL meetup with Fonterra. See all those, use all the terms. And we said last night, nothing will come of it, yada, yada, yada. And it appears Nicola Willis is just throwing the CEO of Fonterra under the bus by saying, I've told him to talk to the public about the prices. And
He speaks very well.
That's about the end of it. Let's have a look at the story from One News tonight.
The Finance Minister says she's encouraged the head of Fonterra to explain to the public what's behind
He can tell you. I don't want anything to do with it. He can tell you.
skyrocketing butter prices, calling her meeting with the dairy giant's boss constructive and engaging. Chief Executive Miles Hurrell refused to answer One News's questions at Parliament yesterday, but told Nicola Willis the bulk of butter prices are determined by the global dairy market. He says between 5 and 10% of the cost is the amount added on by Fonterra and the...
There is one very telling line in the story, and that's who Fonterra, let's go back a few seconds, who Fonterra has to think about when it comes to prices. I'll give you a hint. It's not the consumer.
cost is the amount added on by Fonterra and the supermarkets for their own margins.
Fully acknowledge that they have costs and margin as well, and I will leave it to Fonterra and the supermarkets to argue out who's charging what margin. Very much the sense that I got from my engagement with Miles is that it's a constant battle between them.
The minister acknowledged while local consumers will be disappointed at the prospect of paying global butter prices, Fonterra's job is to do best by its farmers and shareholders.
Truer words never be spoken, Shuey.
That's a really interesting place to leave it, isn't it?
Fonterra has to do what's best by its farmer and its shareholders. I would think it would go like this. Farmer, shareholder, or go like this. That would be my guess, maybe.
It's doing your best for your farmers, not completely losing their support, the broad general support that farmers have in New Zealand.
Yep.
Like, I think that would be an aspect of it. Look, the thing that struck my mind, and like this wasn't a surprise today, when Nikki said that she was going back to her old stomping ground to talk to Fonterra because she's forgotten how butter works and how pricing works, and she just wants to go back to where she was. This was always going to be the case. It wasn't going, oh, well, I walked into that office and I told them that the government wouldn't stand for it and the people of New Zealand deserve better. That isn't what was going to happen. But this reeks of exactly her style, for lack of a better word, with the fairies. You know, she promised she promised she would deliver. And what she delivered was Winston will talk to you in 6 months.
And remember,
And that's what the delivery here is. The CEO will talk to you later on this week.
Yeah, and Chewy, I always credit to Chewy. When they say deliver, it doesn't mean deliver good. You know, the drowning man maybe delivered a brick. We've given something, we've done something, we've made an action. So delivering doesn't necessarily mean solving the issue. Let me give you a little exclusive here, Chewy. This is Dairyman NZ, Craig.
Oh, I love Dairyman.
Well, I've been talking to Dairyman.
He's a champ.
This is I was going to say a tweet. A Twitter. What do you call it for TikTok? This is a TikTok? That's a verb, isn't it? This is the TikTok he put up the other day about the meeting before it happened.
Yeah, look, I think Nicola Willis knows exactly what the answers to her questions are going to be before she even reaches the meeting. Willis held some fairly senior roles at Fonterra for 6 years. She has in-depth knowledge of the legislation governing Fonterra. She knows exactly how the farmgate milk price is calculated and set. She understands wholesale pricing. She knows that the wholesale price is only changed every 3 months, and any fluctuation in retail price between those times is outside of the hands of the wholesalers. I think it's a PR stunt. I think she is going to this meeting, or calling this meeting, to give voters the impression she is doing something. Fonterra have been honest and transparent. I don't think there are any answers to give beyond what has already been given. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I do not think Willis is going on a fact-finding tour at all.
So, couple of little things. As we speak, I'm talking to Craig, messaging with Craig. We've been talking for the last couple of days about coming on tonight or tomorrow. He messaged me today. Too late, I didn't see it. Can jump on tonight if you want. I said, can do tomorrow if that works. And he said, much better. This is 2 minutes ago. Much better than tonight because now I'm in bed. So, Dairyman NZ Craig will be joining us tomorrow night to talk about it. The thing that he was saying, and this is what I find fascinating, is he's the farmer, right? This is one end of the spectrum of this conversation. And he says it's a publicity stunt. He said nothing will come from it. It's a publicity stunt. You might quite literally say the other end of the spectrum is someone like a Mike Hosking. Do you know what he says? He says it's a publicity stunt.
The Mike Hosking Breakfast, 6 to 9 weekdays on News Talk ZB.
G'day there. Well, what do you reckon happened, eh? You know, the big butter meeting. Willis and Hurrell, Nicola and Miles.
Yeah, I am sorry you have to watch it, but there's a point. Yeah, just stick with us. Just stick with us.
Is it a meeting that took on a hopeless amount of hype, or was it a sign that at times this government, and Willis in particular, says stuff that makes them look like they're onto it when perhaps they're not? The reality,
in other words, a PR stunt.
reality is these two meet regularly. I mean, Fonterra plays an outsized role in our economy, and therefore it would be odd if they didn't meet. But Nicola has this penchant for saying stuff that might lead you to believe she could produce an Uzi out of a handbag and blitz the room. She has the banks who she keeps telling us are people we should not be locked in a dark room with. She's got the supermarkets who, in her Clouseau-type way, suggest she's been ferreting about the aisles and found dastardly deeds. Jacinda had the same predilection, of course, when she told us the petrol companies were quote-unquote fleecing us. It's all good stuff for the headlines and attention-seeking. It's very good guy, bad guy. And if hot air were rocket fuel, she would have flown to the moon and back 6 times. But is your butter any more affordable? Of course not. And in that is the problem. Not with the price, but with Nicola. Wouldn't it be fantastic? I mean, if there was a scandal.
Only dogs heard that middle bit as he went that high. I'm not quite sure what he said, but Nala looked up.
I mean, if there was a scandal or a rip-off or some highway robbery, wouldn't it be awesome if she could tie a butter producer to a chair and waterboard them until they screamed, yes, 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 it's true. The retail price is only $3.76, not $8.50. Sadly, it isn't going to happen. And presumably, as if she needed it, Miles worked her through the calculations at last night's meeting. We pay for butter the global price. The irony being, in this case, that's actually good news because
if you can afford it, Mike Hosking's in your Ferrari. This is the thing. I will play the last 15 seconds, but the point is made. Both the farmer and the, how do we label this guy? I don't know.
cheerleader,
the snob, the elite
propaganda
snob.
arm of the National Party.
Well, they both say that this is propaganda, what Nicola Willis is doing.
Dairy in general is booming, and we need something to boom. What we would like to do versus what we have to do for good reason are two separate things, and that's why butter is the price it is. The real question for Nicola is how many meetings, threats and finger waggles does she have to produce for no change before someone calls her out for being a lot of mouth and not a lot of trouser?
The Mike Hosking
I've heard that saying before. I'm not entirely sure what it means, and it does make me uncomfortable. Think about Nicola Willis being a lot of trouser. I think that's the correct response. But there you go. But the point being, everyone can see this for what it is. The farmer can, and the urban dwelling hair moose using multi-millionaire right winger. They can all see it as for what it is. It's just window dressing. It's a headline grabber. It's what Chester Burrows said to us about the gang patch law. It makes for a good headline. Nothing else.
It was so in Mike's fucking minute or whatever the hell he calls
Two.
Sex life.
Fucking 2 minutes, Mike.
Inflation, isn't it? Like he brings up when Jacinda said that the petrol companies were fleecing us, which they were. And Fonterra is fleecing us now, and also the supermarkets are fleecing us here. The problem with that through line that he's drawing there is Jacinda's government did something about it. Temporarily, yes, but they removed tax from fuel to bring the price down, to take some of the heat out of it. It was something that the government identified there was a problem, and then they did something. Now, the petrol companies were still making the same money. Like, obviously, it was the government took the hit for us. But here we have a government that says they're doing something. It's incredibly performative. It has produced exactly what every pundit said straight away. What's she going to do? Walk in, go, how does butter pricing work? And they go, you know, Nicola, because you worked here. And she goes, oh, that's right. I'll go tell them we can't do anything. Or maybe I'll try and throw the supermarkets under the bus, correctly identifying one part of the problem. And then I'm also not going to do anything about that either. We haven't seen something going, if the supermarkets don't stop generating massive profits on butter and every other fucking thing, we're going to break you up. Fonterra, if you don't do something, anything, to recognise the fact that New Zealanders should not be paying the export price for butter when it is our water that is affected by this massive industry. Shall we talk to the people of Ashburton? Shall we talk to the people of South Canterbury? Shall we talk to the people of Gore? How are your nitrate levels? Are they good? Are they going to lead to cases of bowel and intestinal cancers over the next 30, 40 years? Probably, but the milk solid prices are good. So, you know, you guys are on your own. Like, there needs to be a new metric for how society is going. And that should be based on, is your nan still doing as much baking as she normally would? Because if those care packages of bickies and loaves start to tail off, maybe something's a bit fucky. Check with your nan.
Yeah, I was also, it was interesting because when you talk to a numbers nerd like Craig, which I was doing today, he points out the holes very quickly. He said today, rightfully so, you brought up water, which reminded me of it. The two things in New Zealand that should make our butter the cheapest in the world is farmers don't typically buy feed, certainly not all year round. The cows eat grass.
Oh,
and
I've got something about that.
And farmers don't pay for the water. So a town dweller will, every cup of water there'll be a little tick over meter in most places. It didn't used to be that way in Dunedin. I think they've put it in now. Chewy, have they brought it in? But it wasn't like that for a while. So there's some places that don't, but most towns, most cities in New Zealand, you fill up your glass of water and the water meter ticks over and you pay for it. Farmers cover a field in water and it doesn't cost them anything. So farmers in New Zealand already have this massive advantage of grass and water to use on their properties. So it should be the cheapest butter in the world. But it's not, because it's the best butter in the world, and that means they can get more for it internationally, and so we have to pay it. That's the story.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of talk about, well, of course we have to pay the international price for butter because that's what butter's worth. There's so many cases of it being cheaper overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's so much protection for New Zealand butter from overseas places as well. That's why you don't see a lot of foreign butter here. There's no competition. It's just Fonterra has 80-90% of the market. But when we're talking about, well, of course we've got to pay the export price for butter, nobody asks the next question. Why? Why do we?
Mm-hmm.
It's taken as just a law from God. As far as what the CEO of Fonterra has said or is going to say in his very eloquent, well-spoken manner later on this week, where he goes, oh, no, it's because of the export price. Well, excellent. So what you're not telling us is that your costs of production have gone up. That sounds to me that they haven't gone up more than twice, 2 times in the last 12 months. So you're just, pardon the very obvious pun, creaming it. But the New Zealand market for what you produce is tiny. The effect of going, you know what, we are going to do $5 blocks of butter because New Zealanders deserve it. It's your rivers, it's your groundwater.
Your roads.
We have a huge part to play in the economy, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Us doing butter at cost for the New Zealand consumer, for the tiny percentage of the New Zealand Fonterra's butter and dairy production, is not going to affect us very much. It's not going to affect our share price. Fuck all, because there is a butter boom overseas. We need to be protected because it's our country. We did this.
That's a fun word, by the way. Say that one again. Butter boom. Butter
Butter
boom.
boom.
Butter
boom.
Also, because we like to be accurate, I just want to address one thing. Eka says, wrong, Pat. New Zealand is the largest importer of palm kernel extract.
Now,
hang on, let me just address, and then I'll throw back to you. From the website, it was called Pasture, dairy.co.nz, under the heading Nutrition. In New Zealand, dairy cows primarily eat grass, especially during the warm months, but their diet is sometimes supplemented with other feeds, particularly during winter or when pasture is scarce. So I'll change my sentence to be accurate to say they eat grass, which is they mostly eat grass. Whereas in some places, all you need to do is go have a look at some documentaries on how they do it in America, and they have such massive factory farming. There is no grass all year long. So when I say there's 2 advantages, we'll just change that by 5% and say they are mostly grass-fed animals compared to the rest of the world, a lot more grass-fed. Chewy.
Yeah, so this is something else that Fonterra's done. A workmate of mine brought this up with me the other week, and he was furious about it because one of the things that they hold up about New Zealand dairy is it's grass-fed. It's grass-fed. Do you know what the percentage of grass feeding needs to be for them to say it's grass-fed?
How much?
Would it be more
20%?
than half?
Yeah, I would expect it to be 80 or 90, but is it going to be like 12?
It's 30%.
Yeah.
It's 30% to retain the fact that it's grass-fed. And yes, you're right. It's palm kernel. We import palm kernel. Where do we get palm kernel from? Orangutan sanctuaries. That's right. Our lovely clean green New Zealand, green little paddocks with the cows, the happy looking cows. We get palm kernel from Indonesia, as they fell orangutan sanctuaries and environments and that sort of thing. So next time you think of a sad orangutan sitting in what used to be his home, and it's just tree stumps and dirt, so they can plant a palm kernel plantation, Fonterra.
And just to give you an idea about that, here's an American farm, largest cattle farm in America, like only dirt, not one shred of grass. This is the factory farming they can do in places like America.
And look, we can have a round of applause and say, hey, look, at least we don't do farming like they do in America. But
yeah,
Wow, we're walking
But
a
no,
knife
but
edge in
the point, yeah, but the point is not are we better, are we worse? The point is the cost coming out of that cow's udder is less when they are mostly grass fed. That's actually the point I'm making. Not it's okay if we're bad because we're better. I'm not actually talking about the moral side or the ethical side. I'm just saying the cost will be lower because of that. I'm going no further than that because we're talking about the price of butter. We can go down the kernel. I'm having a seizure.
Oh God, he's buffering.
I'm buffering.
The other aspect of it is, the thing that we say that our farmers are super efficient and they don't get subsidies. The dairy industry does get subsidies. It does get huge considerations because it is such an important part of our economy. And Pat mentions water rights and stuff like that. That's just one aspect of it. Like the federated farmers would rather die than criticise dairy. And we've seen that today with the Greenpeace action in Gore. Have you seen that, Pat?
Nope.
Greenpeace did its Greenpeace thing, went down to Gore, crossed out the eyes on the trout statue that you see as you go in, put a sign up that mentioned how dirty Gore's water was full of nitrates and that sort of thing. All of which is true. No lies detected there. Federated farmers said that Greenpeace was doing vandalism and it was very, very unfair on local farmers. They didn't say it wasn't true, that their water is full of nitrates. Same in Ashburton, same in South Canterbury.
Can I say as well, this is probably the kind of protest where you can't really lose, because I'm assuming they haven't actually defaced that. They've stuck something over it.
They've stuck something on.
Which will peel off. So that's a perfect, I'm not putting limitations on how you choose to protest, but there's actually no criticism of a non-vandalized form of protest, which makes the point perfectly. So, credit.
Like, you could have, and not for legal reasons, I'm saying don't do this, but you could have taken an angle grinder to that pole at the bottom of the trout and laid it across the State Highway 1 with the eyes crossed out and the sign on the fence. I'm just saying, you can always go further. Don't, though, because of legal reasons. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it could have been worse.
Definitely don't. That just looks like some of that cardboard you used to have down the back of your classroom when you were in Standard 4. And you just cut the circle with it and put because it's perfect, and then you put it up there. And it was a lovely day, lovely day down here, so it didn't matter if it got wet. It didn't get wet because it wasn't going to rain.
Federated farmers immediately hitting dirty hippie vandals, hitting that button and running to the press was spectacular. They broke a land speed record phoning that one in.
All right, real talk with Jake. Seymour said today that they don't care about the cost of living when he said they're trying to raise wages with exporting, etc., so we can afford food again equals one-term government. Yeah, I think that might have been on NZ Herald. We've got a bit of that to play tonight as well.
That's why our wages are going up so quickly, right?
Yeah. Mouse says we have paid world commodity prices since the late 1980s. Arvid says, guess Fonterra couldn't butter Nikki, no butter up. Peter says they put Willis in charge of the Bucks because she keeps passing on. The puns. Smooth. The puns. I like this one from Gold a lot. To quote idiot/savant, if Fonterra is going to charge us global prices for butter, we should charge them full price for their pollution. There you go. Point made. Australian butter, says JC, retail $2.89 to $5.78. Real talk again, tariff Fonterra, LOLs. We've got JC again. Fonterra, separate bulk and processed business. They sell milk to their butter factory at global price, then say they can only have 10% margin on butter. Right, so that makes sense. That's why the global price is. So the people who the company that produces the butter is not the company that sells them the milk, even though they're both owned by Fonterra, and that's the way they can fleece it.
Just bullshit.
Palm kernel from orangutan sanctuaries, grass from kiwi sanctuaries. There you go. Overread Rover. Thank you all for your super chats. We're going to move on. We're going to have a look at an episode of the Bradbury Group, if you guys were in it last night. I'm only really going to have a look at a couple of clips and only really looking at one person, because we are going to enjoy, air quotes, some Sir Roger Douglas, who comes off as the oldest, slowest, terriblest commentator in the world. Now, this is no shade on the show because no one probably knew how old and slow he was. But speaking to one of the other guests on that show today, the amount of time, this is the thing about being polite. Bomb is polite as well, about allowing someone to get to the end of their thought. If they speak at 3 words a minute, then they take up a lot of airtime. And unfortunately, there are conversations today that maybe this should be the last appearance by Roger Douglas in public as a commentator guest on any media show. This first commentary is just, I'm not really even showing you the content. I've just written old and tired. It does sound like old man shouts at clouds. So I'll play you a bit of this and then we'll move into a couple of comments which are more around the topic, which is unemployment and shared ownership of state houses.
The thing is that over the last 50 years, New Zealand's politicians have been sending the country bankrupt in the name of the poor, and they haven't served the poor at all during that period of time.
I feel like I have to keep coming out, do this just to make sure no one else falls asleep. Awake, stay awake, stay awake, stay with us.
They've done this by spending billions of dollars and continue to spend billions of dollars on people who do not need government help or assistance and are quite capable
those poors,
of looking
they don't need help.
themselves.
Landlords. He's
And
talking about
we are
landlords.
in a mess
Landlords do.
in this country.
Now,
if we
there's not
don't
much that he says in this one. Would you like to see a little trick, Chewy? I'll show you a little trick, how we can make him 25 years younger and sound quite erudite. Here we go. You watching this?
It's going to be.
And it was Thomas Sowell who said,
Yes.
you might
We will
know
just
him.
put him up
Yes.
1.5 speed.
American,
You ready? You'll be amazed.
Black economist, brilliant mind. He said, if you want to help people, you tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, you tell them what
my
they want
God,
to hear.
that's-
And the problem has been for a long time that politicians in New Zealand have told people what they want to hear from their polling rather than to tell them the truth. And the truth is we're in a hell of a mess and it's going to take some guts to get out of it.
Honestly, isn't that the strangest thing in the world? Isn't that the strangest thing in the world? He sounds like he isn't onto it, 40, 50-year-old commentator. Just like that. 1.5. Scary, eh? Anyway, let's stick with... sorry. You go.
I kind of mentioned this last night because I was there for Bomber's show because I was forewarned that it was this demon back from the dead. He has no regret. Well, he does have some regrets about what he's responsible with. It didn't go far enough. And his attitude to the poor there, that the poor don't need help. It's that literally Darwinian. Like, die or improve your situation. I don't care.
Just got 2 little clips to play because there is some, when I say substance, I don't mean to his comments. I mean substance to the conversation that we want to pull out of it. Because there's another comment. Now, I'm sorry, but I am going to leave him in his normal speed because if I speak, it's funny, man. When you speed up those terrible opinions, they don't sound as terrible. The content's the same, but when someone says it confidently, like they're young and sprightly, so we've got to leave it at normal speed. And I apologize about it. Go play the game by yourself in your own time. 1.5 on YouTube. He's talking about unemployment and where will it be?
Coming from. Sir Roger, where's unemployment going to be at the end of the year?
I'm not sure. I probably don't keep up.
Okay, let's move on to the next guest because I don't know.
I don't know.
Cloud.
As well as I used to on the numbers, but I think it comes back. We did a disservice with welfare for Maori. Maori were making their own way, and over the last 30, 40 years, we've made a lot of them depend on the government paying and giving them. And that's a shame for the economy. I mean, if you look 100 years ago, Maori was standing up, independent,
on their own land, which has since been taken from them.
Driving, and we never actually dealt with their move to the cities in the way we should have. And we have to get back to that. But for me, it's about independence and what I said before, get rid of dependency, because a lot of it is designed.
I mean, like Chewy, I think we would agree with get rid of dependency. So what we're saying is support those at the bottom who have dependence, who are dependent on a system, and let's make their lives so good that they don't need it. But he's not meaning that. He's meaning kick those ones off and let them fight for themselves. Like, put them in the octagon and let them have at it. And, you know, we might lose a few 100,000 along the way, but the ones that survive will be doubly strong.
Yeah. It's like, again, he's acknowledging that there was a problem. There's a massive move from rural areas to urban areas amongst post-war Māori.
Yeah.
That's Māori. That's not Maori. Māori. We never dealt with that properly. No, you didn't. But why did they do that? Because they couldn't return to their homes. You gave all their land, especially post-war, you gave all their land to returning white soldiers. Like, so then the factory jobs, the things that would pay, were their only things. So they moved to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then we brought in more workers from the islands. And then we created the shit show that started all of this. When the factories went away, what else did we have? And he's saying not that we should develop new industries or look at redress or help people get on their feet. He's just saying cut them off. Cut them all off.
Cut their feet off.
Like, we've done Maori a disservice by making them dependent on food and accommodation. Like, he's a demon. The man is a demon. He's had decades to reflect on the fallout of what he set in motion, and his takeaway here is it wasn't mean enough. It's insane.
If you're saying 100 years ago Māori were doing so much better, okay, so let's reintroduce that framework, all that land that was there. Let's say 1900. Let's give that all back to them. Let's allow those maraes to be what they were then, and then maybe they'll want to go back to the country or back to the marae anyway. But seeing that's all been removed, you can't look back and go, if only it was like it was 100 years ago. Well, okay, we need to redress some things. Oh, no.
Look, all I can say is after seeing this, and obviously understanding the history of Roger Douglas, I can understand why David Lange wanted to fist fight him.
There's 1% of me which feels a bit bad for him. I really do hope he goes away now, because it's not a good look for him. And look, I know I've mentioned his name like 3 times tonight, but I was talking to Craig today, and Craig was saying that there was points where he was trying to put his head through the screen from Wellington, and that and I've asked Craig if I can share these thoughts, and he said yes. He goes, it was shocking. He shouldn't have been on. He shouldn't be on anything else. His opinions, like his political career, need to die in the 1980s. So that's what he said, because that's where they're from.
It's very clear that Sir Roger Douglas and Craig Rennie are at exact opposite ends of the political spectrum. But there is a part, and I don't know if you've got the clip for this, where I swear Roger Douglas tries to bite Craig Rennie. He doesn't realise that Craig's not in the studio, but he's trying to bite him.
It might be this, but this is the bit about housing that people have been talking about. When Craig has finally had enough, you can see it's quite towards the end of the show. He's obviously been sitting on forks to try and stop himself from snapping back. But because this is, like I'm honestly with you, part of this thing is these guys aren't doing a jump over you, rip you, they're polite people. That means when someone starts to meander and dawdle, it makes it seem worse and longer. And I could see when I watched it back today, Bomber was like, right, and then Douglas would say something else and Bomber would step back.
And then we tied a brown onion to our belt, which was a style at the time. You can get 2 hogsheads for a lady.
This is the last thing. It's only 50 seconds, but it's the bit where Craig decides to say enough is enough.
Build. If we move to use that $1 million on a shared ownership basis, we could free up 5 to 10 existing houses and move people who have almost got the deposit into their own house. And in doing that way...
Roger, that really doesn't work. What you're doing.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're just injecting more money into a housing market that doesn't have the supply. That just puts house prices up. We need to build.
Oh, come on! You know, I hope you weren't the advisor to Robertson, were you, when he increased house prices by more than anyone else? God help me.
There you go. That's the end of it. And then Bomber.
God won't help you.
No, God.
Sir Roger Douglas.
I think looking to get help from the other guy.
He's not going to be there.
But it does lead into this next conversation, Chewy, because it is about platforming. It is about who we're listening to and what we're listening to. And unless you want to offer anything on Roger Douglas, I mean, I don't feel the need to comment on it anymore. He seems pretty clear that it's he needs to just retire and be in his retirement with himself.
I want to offer BHN listeners, just close your eyes. Close your eyes. We're going to imagine a better world. And that better world involves a car crash, a 3-way car crash on a motorway at some dark intersection in the middle of rural New Zealand. There's 3 cars heading in opposite directions. They all meet at this crossroads. Everybody is killed. The drivers of those 3 cars, Sir Roger Douglas, Richard Prebble, and Ruth fucking Richardson. We'd be in a better place.
Okay, they wouldn't. There has been a conversation spark up around Mr. Douglas, Roger Douglas, about who to platform, which does lead us into wrapping up a conversation that we started on Monday, where Mehdi Hassan faced a whole bunch of 8chan comments, but in real life, and there are repercussions for those 8chan comments when people finally can see who and what is making them. So the guy who called himself Connor is also known as Pine Sap online. Now, Pine
Sap,
that's
a pseudonym.
That is the pseudonym that he wouldn't mention on the show. Pine Sap is a follower of Nick Fuentes, apparently, and there are some senior American Democratic politicians that were also following Pine Sap. So that's the world he lives in. Self-proclaimed Catholic fascist, who recently appeared on an episode of Surrounded by popular YouTube channel Jubilee, has lost his job following the program's release. The debate, which first aired on Sunday, featuring 20 far-right conservatives, we're going to talk about that as well, in discussion with British-American journalist Mehdi Hassan. Connor, who uses the online name PineSap, explained that he would prefer an autocratic state aligned with Catholic teaching over a democracy. He went on to reference Carl Schmitt, a German philosopher who collaborated with the Nazis, after which Hassan challenged Connor on whether he was a Nazi. Connor appeared to avoid denouncing Nazi totalitarianism, and when asked if he was a fascist, he replied, "Yep, I am," to scattered applause. I'm glad they mentioned that. Around the studio, he also defended Franco as a political figure who fought for the church and denied that Franco was involved in the murder of women and children. So he's lost his job. This is his Twitter account, and he's confirmed on here he's lost his job.
Sad fascist.
And he is now doing the podcast world. I will give you 60 seconds of this, because this, Chewy, is exactly what we said. And what we said when we were reviewing that episode was the right, this guy in particular, talks about the left are going to get us, so we're going to get them first. And what we said on Monday was, when the right say that, what they're saying is the left has policies and ideas that we disagree with. That's how the left is going to get us. And their response is alligator Alcatraz and disappearing people to El Salvador. they think that's a proportionate response. And I just wanted to play a little bit of this. This is actually a podcast he was on. And you listen to why he thinks he's been silenced, right? Remember, self-professed fascist who wants to have a dictator run the country. He thinks he's been, well, I'll let it play out. You hear why he thinks he's being persecuted.
I think that there was a little bit of persecution.
We may have to rename the show because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
Smiling now. So when I saw that, man, I was confused. I was like, I think that guy's, is he trying to get fired? Because I know today that almost every job, every sector has been inundated with this DEI bullshit. And they allow you to believe anything you want except for things that are stringently right-wing, Christian, or heterosexual, orthodoxy.
Absolutely.
And you are in some serious trouble in your personal life over this. Am I right?
That is correct.
What happened?
Well, unfortunately, I lost my job as a result, and no one really is to blame for that. It's just the culture that...
Well, I can think of one person who was to blame for that.
I know who's done this.
Yeah.
Who has done this?
But just listen to why he thinks he's lost his job, and that's all we're going to play this.
That kind of exists currently surrounding the manner in which you're canceled for voicing exactly what you said, any heterosexual, Christian sort of moral belief that goes beyond sort of the secularism and the relativism that we're so used to in our time.
So I was canceled because I'm a Catholic, not because I supported Nazi. But this is the thing. Right. So what he's saying, this is the attack from the left. He feels persecuted by the left because how dare the left not allow me to voice my Nazi-aligned views? How dare there be consequences for me for calling myself a fascist, saying the Democrats have no right to change the country, and saying yay to Nazi sympathizers and Franco. But he thinks, well, it's because I'm Catholic. So that's how the fragile right say that's how the left is persecuting them. And what they then do is they go alligator Alcatraz. They go disappearing you to El Salvador. That's their response. And someone's already mentioned it, True, but just before I throw back to you. So what he did when he lost his job was he started up a GoFundMe type account because, of course, you're going to. Here it is right here.
Fight for my political beliefs.
Fight for my political beliefs. As of right now, that is at, oh, yes, I am a human. Well, I'm as human as you need.
Tick the box.
I did.
Robots can't do that.
$34,000 US.
Disgusting.
Now, the average salary in America is 60. So he's just basically, for voicing those views and then playing the victim, has made thus far half a year's salary to help him get through until he gets his next job.
It's not just money that he's getting there, Pat. He's also getting praise.
Respect from Australia. Christ is king.
Christ is king.
We must secure our existence of our people and a future for white children.
No,
the tribes of Jacob and God's
that
children.
is literally the 14 words.
Well, there it is. And then it says 14 words.
Right there. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so...
Remember, how about this one? Remember that the world hated us first. Signed Jesus and Adolf. So who do we? So now we're going on to the platforming, and we are going to talk about Jubilee, and I know you want to talk about it.
Yeah. Look, I've had problems with this format before when we've spoken like the Sam Cedar one and that sort of thing. I think overall, the idea of this speed debate thing is generally kind of dumb because it follows the same format. Like I mentioned the other night, it's street debate. It's just use shitty tactics to rattle people and but then we have something like this and it was the same with the Sam Cedar thing where you end up platforming 20 people with absolutely abhorrent views, and that is a problem. And it speaks to what your intention is. Can you manage this? Like, We've had conversations about platforming before. You've had a long format interview with a literal neo-Nazi before, which is the exact opposite of what Jubilee is trying to do.
Yeah.
Which is like an in-depth examination of where your fucking brain is at, what's wrong with it, and then I'm going to make you eat your own views. Like, the only benefit I see from this Jubilee thing, the surrounded format with these people, is I still think there are a lot of people in the world that think people talking about right-wing nationalism, right-wing white nationalism, crypto-fascist Catholic groups, all of this sort of stuff just sounds like catastrophizing, and it just sounds like conspiracy. And there's no way that people look at the views of the Nazis and realistically think that this is a good idea. I think it's a small group of isolated weirdos that I don't have to worry about. And when something like this gets out there and you go, well, no, these are young, reasonably well-educated people that have made a decision to look to some of the worst ideologies that the 20th century has produced and gone, yeah, I think they were on the right idea. And I think it should shock people that they're out there. Do I think Jubilee does this correctly? I don't think so. But I think there is always a discussion about platforming that if we don't know what's out there, like I think there's a lot of power in know your enemy. And I think there's a lot of power there to go, you turn on your lights and you find your kitchen's full of cockroaches. Maybe you should have had the lights on earlier.
I don't know if I'm quite there on the Jubilee product. And that might annoy some people, meaning I don't know if I'm totally against it, because if you actually have a look at what they do, this is just the surrounded. It's like 25 liberal students, 1 Charlie Kirk. It's like 20 Trump supporters, 1 woke teen. It's like 1 cop, 20 criminals. That's pretty gross. 1 Republican, 25 Kamala voters, but then there's 1 Democrat, 25 Trump voters. I watched an interview today on the Bulwark with Tim Miller, where he's talking to Mehdi about the situation. And Mehdi said that one of the reasons he went on is because his kids consume this. And like his kids' friends. So it's a Gen Z style. And he said you don't get many good progressives on. And if you have a look, Candace Owens, Jordan Peterson. I actually enjoyed that one. I watched that one. Dr.
Jordan
Mike.
Peterson one was a fucking bloodbath.
What conservative? So that's why he went on. I don't have a problem with the concept of how they're doing it. I think obviously there's a couple of things from this latest one where they missed the mark massively. One of the things is it wasn't what Mehdi said it was going to be. It wasn't 20 far-right conservatives. There was at least a smattering of literal fascists and neo-Nazis in there. That's beyond far right. So I think it was sold in a way to Mehdi that it wasn't. Because I've also watched the clip that Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland talked about it beforehand. And Mehdi spoke to Sam and said, shall I do it? And Sam said, yeah, you should do it. It's great. So then they weren't worried about it. But in the response to it, Sam said, if I ever did it, he basically said I wouldn't ever do it again. But I said, if I did, I wouldn't sign the consent form until after it was finished. So this episode has actually been more out of the box than usual. Although, in saying that, Jubilee is definitely about clickbait and controversial things rather than substance. So I kind of go, I'm not necessarily against the format. I would like to do some kind of on the street conversation where we get real people talking to real issues as a part of this. Not exactly like that. So I think that they maybe missed the mark on this one, and maybe it's grown into more of a, the Jordan Peterson one was supposed to be 1 Christian versus 20 atheists, and Jordan Peterson said in the middle of it, like his Kermit the Frog voice does, he went, when someone says, well, you're a Christian, and he goes, how do you know that? Am I? Have I said that? And they had to change the name of the episode because he wouldn't say he was a Christian. So, it seems to maybe going more off the rails now than it was. I don't have a problem with people debating if they know what they're debating. Like Mehdi has had lots of conversations with completely contrary, opposite people, Zionists, whatever it is, but he always knows what he's going into. In this instance, he basically didn't, because what he went into was not what they said. If they had have said, well, we're going to have 20 far-right commentators, 3 or 4 of them will be fascists, 5 of them will be Nazis, and the rest will be your typical, Mehdi would have gone, no thanks. So that's the big issue for me.
Yeah. I think Goblin Socks here is pretty close to where I'm at. I personally don't feel the Jubilee format is productive. It's not really conducive to a meaningful debate and doesn't move the needle for the audience at all, really.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah. I think there is a format. There is a format to figure out about how to have these conversations. They are too sensationalized, but what I'm saying is I don't think that this episode is necessarily representative of their whole database. I mean, you go and watch the one with Dr. Mike, the 20 anti-vaxxers versus the doctor. It's really good, and he's very good, and there is lots of information in it. So it's I'm not giving it the full seal of approval, but I'm not throwing the whole thing under the bus. I think that if they could do them more like the Dr. Mike's, where it's factual, infactual, because what this is opinion. That's different. You see, an opinion like this is noise. Facts is a different thing. So that's all.
It's also absolutely ripe for taking the piss out of. This popped up in the BHN Discord the other day. Once I find what window it's in.
My name is Jake. I am a living human being who is currently alive. My first claim is that I don't think I should be murdered. Hello. Okay, I'm going to talk really fast in order to make a half-baked point and just hope you don't call me out on it. Does it really matter if I kill you? Secondly, hold on. Please don't interrupt me. I have a family. Do you have a family?
Answer the question.
Yes. It matters if you murder me.
To you?
Yes.
But to anyone else?
My mother would be disappointed.
That's exactly my point. Would anyone else?
You're moving the goalpost.
For me, it would feel really good to kill you. Like, amazing.
Let me get this straight. You believe that you have a better...
Hopefully that's not like a channel with 12 million viewers and that's now going to get us pulled down off YouTube. But there you go. All right. So not a fan of the episode, not a fan of the intention, which is clickbait. Want to figure out a way to have bigger conversations. Like next year, we're starting to think about the election, how to do those. That's purely where I'm at. Anyway, let's keep trucking because we've got one more conversation to go as well. Going back to the conversation around Roger Douglas, he talks slower and more slurred than me as a disabled person, but I'm not a political commentator. Harvard's Kiwi Bird says Seymour needs to take better care of his granddad, talking about Roger Douglas. Kai Mātara, New Zealand Orwell's 1984 would have Roger as Big Brother. The algorithm demands engagement, hence format, says Ian. And that's it from there. There's one from Gary that you started. The USA is the only nation where every citizen owns an I'm with stupid t-shirt, and it's accurate wherever they wear it. That's very funny as well. Yeah. Okay. Anything else just to wrap that one, Sherry? Any points, any other chats in there you want to get to before we go into Chloe and Captain Seymour?
It's always an interesting discussion about what platforming is and where it serves a purpose and where it doesn't. And I think our view here at BHN is if the conversation's long enough and in depth enough with enough pushback, then you can manage it. If it's shorter, I don't think it works. Like you should avoid platforming these guys.
Just so you know, that bulwark. Oh gosh, I've left it up for a long time. How do I get rid of that? Do that. Just so you know, that conversation around the bull with the Tim Miller one, Tim was leaning more on the side of, I think, sunlight is the best disinfectant. I mean, that individual has personal ramifications for his positions now, and other people have seen it, and they're like, this is real, so exposing it is more important. And I think Mehdi was of the position was, I am not directly quoting, but if I had have known, I never would have gone on, which makes complete sense at all. I'm trying to find my notes to what this next clip is, bro. Oh, there it is.
We're off book.
Got it. Got it. No, we got it. It's only it's only 2.5 minutes total. Yeah. So Chloe was on with David Seymour this morning on Big Herald News, and they were talking about the price of butter. You may not have heard about this, but the price of butter is a bit of a thing.
We're a ridiculous little country.
But Chloe has a really interesting take on it, which is a repetitive take for the Greens because it's part of their messaging, which is when the top 20% control so much, that misses out some at the bottom. David Seymour has a perspective, which is, well, you can't just make yourself rich off taking off other people. But as I said earlier, I really feel like my focus I've got focus now on this idea about what it means when the top 20% control so much. Because by definition, if you've got 100 cans of Coke and 20 people have 90 of them, right? Then the last 10 are between the other 80 people. So if we agree, and Chloe doesn't say it like this, but this is what I'm saying from what she's about to say. If we agree that resources are finite, then it goes to say that if a small group of people own the majority of the resources, then there's fewer of the resources for the rest of us, which means by definition, some people will miss out. Now, that's what I got out of this. Let's see if that's what you got out of this. This is Chloe Seymour turning the butter conversation into the haves and have-nots on some level.
To David's point, we currently have an economy where the top 1% in this country hold 23% of the nation's wealth. That inequality is directly causing the poverty and the low wages that we currently have in this country. So we need to address those issues.
So you're saying
head
other
on.
people's success is making people poor?
I'm saying that inequality is directly causes. David, if we are willing to accept a small group of people at the top of the pecking order holding the majority of the resources in this country, that necessitates that there will be people who are going without. That is.
It's beautiful. Now, I know Chloe's probably said that 100 times before, so it's probably because I'm the moron. But if we take this idea that top 1% take a quarter of the resources, that means the bottom 99% have 3/4, and the word necessitates is used. It necessitates that there's going to be fewer between the rest of us. So it necessitates that some are going to miss out. It's a clarity moment for me.
Saying that inequality is directly causes. David, if we are willing to accept a small group of people at the top of the pecking order holding the majority of the resources in this country, that necessitates that there will be people who are going without. That is how inequality creates poverty. So yes, I do believe that we should have intentional redistributive policies.
Untrue. David, because what?
Yeah. So, and this is what I was saying. This is the thing that's my little add-on. Are resources finite? Because if resources are finite, Chloe can't be wrong. So the only way that the top 1% can control 25% and the bottom 99% can still have free and fair access is if resources are unlimited. If you're talking about oxygen, I agree with you. If you're talking about housing, not so much. Because like I just did with my silly example around cans of Coke. If 1% of the 100 people own 25 of the cans of Coke, then there's only 75 cans of Coke for the other 99. Someone's going to miss out. It's a statistical truth. I don't think there's a way that you can prove otherwise if you accept that resources are finite. That has to be in there for this to be a slam dunk, can't challenge it, there's no way you can do it.
That we should have intentional redistributive policies.
Untrue. David, because the assumption, it's really interesting, and I'm really happy we're having this discussion. Because
David's assumption is it trickles down.
There's only so much. There's only so much to go around, and the only way that people can succeed is to take from others who have.
So is there only a certain number of houses to go around? Is there only a certain number? See, that's what I'm saying. Making the assumption that there's only a certain number to go around. So you do, he's agreeing with us. You do have to agree that resources are finite. So what he's saying is the only way that his system works is if resources are infinite. Because Chloe's saying there's not enough resources to go around. Yes, Yes, that's what Chloe's saying. What you're saying is resources are infinite. And that's why she can't be proven wrong. There is a finite number of houses. There is a finite number of dollars coming out of that business that's only got so much to pay its people. I'll tell you a story. I remember working for News Talk ZB. Here's some shade. And I went and I had a look and I asked one of my bosses here, I was interested in the pay rise, Chewy. Do you know what he said to me? He said to me, because we have purchased a Bentley for Paul Holmes, we don't have the budget to offer any increases right now. So News Talk ZB back then, when Paul Holmes was running the show, they didn't, like a lot of companies will lease you a car. They purchased him a $300,000 Bentley as a part of his contract. And you know what? Resources are finite. There's only a certain number of dollars that business could pay for its employees. And because the top 1% had been allocated such a big chunk of that finite amount of money, there was nothing left to offer a pay rise to others. It's a tangible example of exactly what we're talking about. I know what you're doing, Chewy, right now. Your brains are blowing because a radio announcer in New Zealand got given a $300,000 Bentley as part of his contract. I get it. Absolutely true story.
Well, truth is...
Yep, go to
it. I got mine. I don't know what's going
I
on.
was about to say, didn't know Bentleys did EVs now, but Rolls-Royce certainly do. Maybe that's who should be aiming.
If you look at people in New Zealand, you look at Graham Hart, one of the richest guys in the country, started as a tow truck driver. You look at the Mowbrays, now have a massive and very successful business, mainly out of China. They grew up poor in the Waikato. If you look through the whole list of people that have done well in New Zealand, most of them started poor. So the idea that we're going to solve our problems by pulling down people who have worked hard and succeeded is wrong. What is right is that we need a good economy that grows, that gives people opportunity.
I mean, he has a point, Chloe.
If I may address that.
Get away from the zero-sum thinking.
Yeah.
If I may address this head on, what David is currently trying to sell the people of this country is a continuation of the 40 years of trickle-down based economics, which have clearly not worked for people. We've seen a selling off, Ryan, if I may finish, we've seen a selling off of state assets whereby New Zealanders still need their energy, New Zealanders still need housing, but are now paying for a far higher cost because they are being facilitated by the private market. So yes, we do need to ensure that we have a fair tax system because frankly, I think that it is so unfair that the average New Zealander in this country pays double the effective tax rate of the billionaires that David was just citing.
Yeah.
Well, once again, we've had that debate many times.
Yeah, we have had this debate many times.
And you lose, David, every time.
These twats.
You lose that debate every single time. This has got 16 seconds, and then I'll throw straight to you two. I promise. I know you're chomping at the bit.
And the facts are abundantly clear.
The reason
to bring
that
it
power
back,
prices are high.
Hang on, David. To bring it back for everybody who's watching this morning, are you going to get anything out of a meeting that Nicola Willis has with Miles Hurrell or by threatening the supermarkets? The honest answer from both of you would have to be no.
That's called losing control of your show to Chloe Swarbrick, and I wanted to play the end of it. It's lovely. Chewy, have at it, sir.
The only way that David Seymour would be right is if endless growth was possible also. Like this idea that if we just let that the only way people get ultra wealthy is purely through altruism. You know, they're all good people who worked really hard. Sure, Graham Hart started as a tow truck driver. He then leveraged his way into property, which is just a tax black hole. And it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows because property is our sacred calf we can never touch. The Mowbrays made their money selling basically a rolling, brightly coloured oil spill made by some of the poorest, worst paid workers on the planet. That's not a good thing. We shouldn't hold the Mowbrays up as some great fucking success story. They have just done what people have done for ages. Mass-produced, cheap, disposable shit. We shouldn't be about that. But you can't get endless growth just in the same way that resources aren't infinite. those two things are linked. And I think what David Seymour is trying to link is that we've just got to let the rich do what they can, because there's an opportunity for us all to be rich if we just repeat the process. And not everyone can do that. Yeah. It's like that fantastic kids movie that buries an amazing philosophy right in it. If everyone's super, then no one's super. And it looks like we're not all getting rich. That's never happened.
Very good. All right. There's a couple of chats here. We'll get to those. Is there anything else you want to quickly throw out there? It's None Eyes time. Over Red Rover says owning resources is a zero-sum gain. Earthling Steve says long form is the way forward. Hunter Biden interview, amazeballs. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate. I know, like I said, I don't know if it was never been said as clearly as that by Chloe before, but we have these little moments where we kind of go, like I had one the other week, completely off side. What do we call it? Tangent now, talking about, people want what's the word you say when people want to eliminate the trans community? They want them to go away. They want to see them. They want to disappear them. And people are like, "Oh no, I don't. No, I just want to." And I said to this person the other day, "Do you want to see them gone from sports? Yes. Do you want to see them gone from bathrooms? Yes. Do you want to see them gone from schools? Yes." So at what point do you stop saying yes? Because you want them gone from. You say you don't want them gone from the community, but you want them gone from these parts of the community. When do you say no? Because at the moment, they're heading towards being locked in their house, never being able to come out. Isn't that removing them from society? And that was the end of the Twitter chain.
Yeah,
there was no comeback after
exactly.
That. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the trans thing. I'm going to try a new segment here right at the end of the show. This is where we try all the interesting stuff. So we've had an hour and a half version of the news. I'm going to try and speed run
that's right.
with Stuff's help. We're going to try and speed run the news, okay? Because I saw the headline. I knew that this was coming. That there was going to be a document or a plan released about transgender people in sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of those other really, really important things that we all need to focus on. But what I found was that it was attached to basically a day in politics.
So this is just today.
This is just today.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
So, New Zealand Politics Live. Transgender inclusion guidelines wiped from government sports site. So that's bad. Yeah, and we have a little talk about that. We all know this was coming. Winston Peters calls someone woke, talks about biological males, shakes fist at clouds, on we go. Next thing, Finance Minister Willis has given an assessment for a meeting with Fonterra that we spoke about on the show. Basically, she walked in, what's the deal with butter? Fonterra goes, oh no, other people pay it. And she went, fair enough, and left. So there's that. Kiwis aren't getting a royal deal from high butter prices, Willis say. So that's cool. We can't talk about it ever again because we've worked out we're actually not getting a raw deal. There's a nice little poll with over 10,000 votes. Should the government step in for lower food prices? 75% of us say yes.
How can you have not sure? Who would? I mean, like it's yes or no. Who would say not sure to that?
I don't know. What's a butter? Government releases homelessness briefing, and it shows homelessness is up on all counts. I think the number is in here, or maybe it was in a different article I saw. 250% was the number that I have seen. So this is what they've been trying to hide, and you can see why. More delays for police recruitment deadline signalled. So when was it? Were we supposed to have 1.5 million cops by November or something like that? Looks like we're not going to get that.
I think technically it was 1.5 billion, wasn't it?
1 billion. We're just every cop will have an additional cop. That is not happening.
The additional cop will be in a locked box in the boot.
Yeah.
So if they need access to the additional cop, they go to the boot and they pop the box and they get the other policeman out. That's how it works.
Something has emerged to spark urgent space debate, but we don't know what it is. But they had to get all the politicians up in the morning to vote on it. Unexpected and urgent bill gets MPs out of bed to debate outer space. I just love that headline. Fonterra boss I think that's yesterday now. But that is just a solid block of nothing good for the government.
Nothing good happened today.
This is bad. It has been, and I say this knowing that this is our literal, pardon the pun, bread and butter, is talking about how the government is bad. This has not been a good week for the government. This is why Christopher Luxon is busting out the frickin', because he's frickin' frustrated with what a shit show he's trying to lead. And that's my story.
And this is my picture. The distraction zone. Do you think the frickin' is a distraction? They'll talk about that for a cycle, because you see what's happening in America. What did we say? What did we say last week about Epstein? Do you remember me saying it'll be JFK or Martin Luther? Well, Martin Luther King got released today.
Treason. Shifty, he needs to go to prison. The CBS stuff,
But the Martin Luther King files got released, 250,000 documents, right on cue, right on cue.
Right.
So there you
go.
Now,
look, do I think frickin' is a distraction? No, I think it's a symptom.
All right.
I think it's a symptom of a man under pressure.
I'm excited to hear from Craig tomorrow night, Dairy Man. I don't know too much about Craig. I watch a lot of his stuff that comes across.
I have followed him for years on the old bird site.
Are you gonna fangirl? Are you gonna look?
Well, in a very farmer way. I'm like, hey mate.
Wait, mate. Looking
he
good.
is.
Not you're looking good, not too good. You're not looking too good. I'm just saying, it's what I'm trying to say is it's a good look. You're not looking good. I like the swan dry. It's a good. You're not looking good. That would be weird. Yep, something like that. Is that how you do it? That would be about right.
Yeah. I think he's an excellent. I think he's an excellent voice, because he's a farmer doing farming stuff. He's in that sector, and here we are, people that go to the supermarket. And we can't speak from a position of authority, although we try to. But he is someone that is more on our side as well. He's got a foot in both camps. We want our farmers to be more like him. So I think he's an incredibly valuable voice. I miss him because I don't think he's on Blue Sky. But yeah, he's one of the few voices that I miss from Twitter. So maybe I'll tell him I miss him.
So we'll be hopefully with Craig tomorrow night. All things going well, if the sat nav's working out on the farm, is that what they say? And a bunch of other stuff for tomorrow night as well. Lovely night. Good night. Thank you for being with us tonight. It's been a good one. It's been a good show.
Oh no, he is on Blue Sky. I just found him.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, and I'm already following him. Never mind.
Dude, do you follow so many people you don't even know who you're following? Is that how it rolls?
Yeah.
My gosh.
Whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate, it's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a sub and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and will be analyzed by what you impact. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Forgot to turn my mic on. Don't have too much more to add. That's it for me. Looking forward to tomorrow night's show. Anything from you, Chewy, to wrap up the night?
I am going to go and turn my electric blanket on.
Oh, it's a real cold night. That sounds a little bit
cold.
That's a bit Mike Hosking, isn't it? Aren't you supposed to have a hottie if you're like a proper? You do have a hottie. You can say hi to her for me. Might catch you on Friday night. Hey, you see that one? Hey. All right,
yes.
team.
Oh, we'll see you at the Greens thing on Friday night.
Yeah, I think so. All right, guys. Catch you soon. See you tomorrow night from 9.
Oh, nice.
For the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo.
Better days.